I almost was gonna start that like a UFC fight.
Dude, I just saw that.
Let's get ready to rumble.
McGregor and Matt Chandler, their UFC 303 fight that was coming up in 2 weeks.
Not the Matt Chandler pastor.
No, not the Matt Chandler pastor. Mike Chandler. Mike Chandler. Sorry, Mike Chandler. Matt Chandler, the pastor. Mike Chandler. Their fight just got canceled.
What? Oh, I was getting excited. I heard that Conor McGregor was about to fight again.
Yep.
And I was like, sick. I knew he was out of it. So
it had the largest gate in UFC history right now, which is going to suck for the people that bought tickets that paid a lot of money
all those
for
underground bets.
Yeah, exactly. So that's done. That sucks. I was excited for it because Mike Chandler, he's a real estate guy.
Is he?
He's a real estate guy. Yeah, I got to hang out with him at Limitless in Vegas about a year ago, all night. Like we got dinner and hung out, and yeah, he was telling me this time they just got done filming. What's the UFC fight where there's two coaches, or it's like a show where they have the two coaches and they train people? I don't know. And then the coaches always fight at the end.
Yeah.
So they just got done filming that, and they're supposed to do a fight, but Conor was on steroids, and then so they couldn't, and it kept pushing the fight. And the thing for Mike, it was Conor is ridiculously rich anyway, and Mike's rich, but like it was going to be, I think a huge payday. Yeah. And so finally got it on the books, and then it is.
You know why?
Conor hurt himself in training is what it said. But I mean,
was it post-injection pain?
Yeah, it was. Well, Conor has been partying and like he hasn't been taking it seriously. So part of it is like, this was all just promo for him.
Just Hollywood.
Yeah.
Well, he did that movie. Dude.
I just watched it. Roadhouse.
How good was that?
Dude, it was great.
I loved that movie. Oh my gosh.
It was, I watched it on the plane last week, and it was phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Like,
I love that you're just cupping your microphone.
It feels right. It feels right.
It's like it just fits.
Yeah. So, but Roadhouse was amazing.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal was ripped.
Because you saw the original, right?
No. Oh, you had to see the original?
What?
Is the original better than the first one?
It's not better. No. Okay. But it's the original.
Do they tie it in, or is it just?
Yes. Dude, it's like almost play by play, like the same thing, but different place. But almost the same exact story.
Really? Yeah.
It's really cool. But Patrick Swayze.
Oh,
it was Patrick Swayze in his prime.
Really?
It's one of my favorite all time. Like connection with my brothers and my dad was not connection, but the way we connected was through like stupid bro talk and action movies.
Yeah.
And so we watched all of the action movies together, and that's like, how did we have connections week? Yeah, we watched Roadhouse, The Matrix, like. Ooh,
dude. So you'll get so you're an action movie guy? All action movies, like Marvel stuff.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
dude. You'll get a kick out of this.
Okay.
So for people that don't know, they probably do know, I'm a co-host of the Better Life podcast. We interviewed. He was the Captain America's stuntman throughout the Marvel series.
What?
Yeah.
For Chris.
Not Chris Evans.
Chris Evans, I think.
Chris Evans, yep, yeah. So he's Captain America's stunt double for the first couple movies, and then he got promoted to stunt director, so he choreographed all of the stunts in some of the later Avengers movies, and then he moved on to director, and so he just directed Extraction and Extraction 2 with Chris Hemsworth.
Jeez.
Yeah, so he's a stud. He's investing in real estate.
Extraction 2 is some sick action.
Yeah, so that he was amazing. He's such a cool guy. I think he's got 30 doors right now, and he's buying a 30 unit in Memphis. Oh, wow. So he's a real estate investor. Really great guy. That's amazing awesome. Guy. Yeah. So he was in this last week and got to hang out with him, and he's doing a movie right now with I don't know if I'm supposed to say. So,
okay, cool.
but it's some big names. Yeah, he just got signed on. So he's
really important.
He's going to be the next. I think because Extraction is the most streamed movie of all time.
Wow.
And Extraction 2 is like.
I mean, I was 2 or 3 of those streams.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and he hit like it was a perfect storm because it came out during COVID, and so people were at home. And Extraction has the most streams of any movie of all time.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was so good though. I loved it.
It was great. So just a great action movie. It's one of those movies where you watch and you're like, that was a really great use of 2 hours.
Yes. As a man.
Yeah. Where
women may not feel the same.
Yeah. Well, some action movies are corny or like, but I love that's my favorite thing right now. I don't watch a ton of movies, but like Roadhouse is one of these.
Yeah.
Where it's not like a life-changing movie where you're like, oh my goodness, like there was something deep meaning to that or something like that. But it's not a movie you really have to think about to watch.
Yes.
But it's also not dumb or corny. It's just like for
some good little romance.
Yeah.
What I liked was like pretty clean. You know,
it was very clean.
Like,
I think it was
a
lot of profanity, but there was no,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But like sexual stuff, I don't do great with movies where there's a bunch of sexual stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's just not my favorite. Because I feel like I have to take a shower afterwards. But like movies where I'm like, oh, it's like feel good. There's some fighting in there. Good storyline. A little bit of romance. Like, fighting for something important. Beating up the bullies. I think we all want to see bullies
it's
like
just
punished.
It's an easy 2 hour watch.
Yeah,
and
totally.
At the end, you're like, that was fun. I might not ever watch it again. You will, but
I will for sure.
But it's like one of those like, hey,
my life when it's going nowhere. I will watch that.
that took 2 hours of like where I got to just like focus on the movie and enjoy it, but it didn't make me sad. It didn't make me like have to think.
Yeah.
I hate the movies where you have to think.
Well, like Inception and
no, I mean, I like them, but in the stage of life that I'm in right now, like
it's like a burden.
Exactly. It's like, you're
problem solving all day. 60 hours a week.
And then you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, like, I just want to be like
wait,
like I want to watch a movie just to chill.
Is that his son or his father?
Exactly.
I don't know.
So sounds weird. Watching a movie is a burden, but it is. It really is.
It can be.
Or one of my
that way with like Real Housewives, or anytime my wife tries to put like reality TV show in front of me.
Oh,
because I'm like, our work is emotional health. So I'm like, I literally have to watch like 20 women that hate themselves do relationship conversations. No, thank you.
I'm not gonna do this. One of my what's your favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time?
Okay, no. So
put me on the spot like that.
So okay, so I guess I got a couple. Like what's a movie that changed you? And then what's a movie?
Say my favorite movie.
I can
say my favorite movie, Good Will Hunting.
Oh, it's an amazing movie.
That's my favorite.
That is an amazing movie.
Yep.
There will never be another Good Will Hunting made.
No. No, there won't.
Or anything like it. I saw Matt Damon. He was on. There's the YouTube series where they eat the chicken wings and they get hotter and hotter. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Oh, it's amazing. You haven't seen it? It's everywhere. And it high, like A-list celebrities.
Like diarrhea just thinking
that's
about
the thing. Is like the first one is just mild, and they get up to like a ghost pepper, and
oh my gosh.
And they ask questions. But on it, they were talking about Good Will Hunting, and then what's the other one? There's like a Knights of Castle. I don't know. It was, but they were talking about like more indie type movies or movies with like higher meaning, or that are a little bit deeper, and Matt Damon was like, those are just those are not going to get made anymore because because of direct to streaming, and they're not fast cuts, and so they're not going to do, because movies make all of their money from the theater,
right?
And they don't make money streaming. They're very little money streaming
because they get licensed basically by Netflix or whatever for a 60% of the production cost,
something like that. And I don't remember all of it, but he said that movies only make money from streaming, and so you are taking an incredible risk doing any movie outside of a action movie to go to the theater. So he's like, you're going to lose the art of good storytelling, because those are risks, because sometimes that story doesn't connect with people, or something's happening in the world where like the story that they're trying to tell just doesn't hit. It might hit some other time, but it's a huge risk because of that. And so if it goes to theater, and first of all, theater, I think has to pick it up, but, and they're not going to pick up a movie that they don't connect with.
So sad.
Yeah. So
it's a bummer. Like we get so increasingly dissociated that we need like more and more stimulation.
Yeah.
It's kind of like married couples, like, you know, sex gets a little boring. So then they start doing some weird, crazy things. Then all of a sudden, before you know it, midgets get invited to the bedroom.
This has not happened for me yet.
Like action movies only. It's like, that's like midgets getting invited to the bedroom at that point.
So unfortunately we will, hopefully there's still some movies that come out because Good Will Hunting's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
That's one of those. I haven't watched it in probably 3 or 4 years, but such a great movie.
Yeah.
The Talk on the Bench, man. It's one of the best.
Every guy that needs additional fathering. You're like, oh, that's like that moment. Yeah. Like you see me and you are calling me higher to myself.
I'm going to watch that. So one of my favorite, so I guess I got like a movie. I don't know if it's my favorite movie, but it's the one that's impacted me the most.
Okay.
Favorite movie is The Patriot. Like I could watch that.
Great movie.
I could watch that every night and never get tired.
British soldiers, axe to the forehead.
Yeah. And I think The Patriot, one of the reasons it's my favorite movie ever, it's the first rated R movie I was ever allowed to watch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So there's something there with it. And I was like 12 or 13 years old. But I was the first rated R movie I was ever allowed to watch. And Gladiator was the second rated R movie I was ever allowed to watch. So, The Patriot was phenomenal, but it didn't like change my life. But have you seen About Time? That's a good one.
That's like my wife's favorite movie.
Oh,
probably.
Dude,
yeah.
This guy's just such a deep meaning. Like because I'm gonna ruin it for people. Spoiler alert. So like when you have a kid,
just fast forward this part.
Yeah, when you have if you haven't watched About Time, watch it now. Fast forward. If you have, you will probably get this. But when you have a kid, how did it work? You couldn't go back in time anymore. Do you remember? That was right. Yes. So like all of the family members in this family can travel back in time, and it sounds weird, but they do a really good job of explaining it. But when you have a kid, you can't go back anymore. And so he finds out that his wife is pregnant. And so that means that he has to say goodbye to his dad forever. Remember that?
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And so
because he kept going back to visit.
Yeah. Because his dad died. So his dad, yeah, exactly. His dad died, but he could go back in time and visit his dad. But once he has the kid, he can never go back and see his dad.
Like thinking
dude,
about
and so they're playing pool and they're hanging out, and he tells his dad, "Hey, I'm about to have a kid."
And he's a really good father too.
Great father. He's like, I can't come back and visit you. And they go and he's like, but do you want to go like do one more experience or something like that? And so they can travel back in time to any time in their childhood in their life. And they go back to the beach and they're running up and down the beach and hanging out when he's a little kid. And it is just like, you only have so much time. And it's one of those, I think about that scene all the time where it's like, when I'm on my phone or when I'm just not present in my kid's life, like this is, we're not in a movie, so we don't have the ability to go back in time, but someday we're going to want to, and we're going to be so disappointed in ourselves if we are if we look back and we're like, I'm on my phone, or I'm working, or I'm not paying attention, or I'm stressed or angry or mad, which is so important for entrepreneurs, where like, I think there's one, you can be on your phone all the time, but then even just like the stress of the businesses like pouring over into your personal life, where it's like you're with your kids, but you're not present because you're stressed or you're thinking about things. Exactly. You can't shut your mind off, dude. So that was one that I watched, and it literally was like, oh shoot. Yeah. Like I gotta,
so it was like a life-changing story.
Oh, it was. Yes. Yeah. I haven't watched it in years, but I'll have to watch that and Good Will Hunting. Yeah,
dude. I think that's really interesting, like what you're talking about too. And you guys will get into the topic here soon about real estate. That's great, actually. I'm having a good time, whether you guys are or are not. But like even thinking about, it's hard to think through, okay, when I was working my 9 to 5, I was stressed about that too. Yeah. And thinking through problems, and the stress also was more like, I have no option but to work 8 or 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day sometimes, working for somebody else's dream and vision.
Yeah.
And then having such a limited income or control over my income where it's like opportunities stayed the same. And then there's kind of this threshold too, though, where it's like, okay, I have to build a business though. It's probably going to require some time on the side of the current job, which is the worst season of all.
I think that is, yes.
Right. Cause you're doing now 60, 70 hour weeks probably.
Yeah.
If you're really wanting to
crush it. If you're trying to build another, you have to be successful.
You can quit your job. And then you quit your job, things get a little bit more hopeful because you're like, cool, now I have more time to put in this with more leverage. But then you're kind of in that space where you're like, well, I need to build that to this point. Yeah. Where then I can start hiring. And I think that's where that starts to offload. But I think all the time, it is always an invitation. I think for men a lot too, women too, but I'd say men have this not enough trigger or this need for significance that we get driven into overworking in whatever we do, whether it's entrepreneurship. And sometimes we have to keep that at bay. Like I've noticed for me, I have to like really be aware. Am I, having an unhealthy relationship with entrepreneurship or business or anything to the point, like what you're saying, is this a medication that's keeping me away from being present with me, my wife, my children, those things that we will really care about at the end of our lives. You know?
And I also wonder, cause I 100% agree with that. And I am trying in my own life to take a step back. Cause I think it's fun. Like I enjoy entrepreneurship and I love working and I love the stress a lot of times. Yeah. Not all the time, but a lot of times, like I feel like
the challenge.
Yes. The challenge, the pressure. Yeah. The stress, maybe not, but the pressure. Yeah. I thrive under it. But I also, it's a weird dichotomy where I also want to not work at all and just hang out with my kids. And so that's tough. But one of the things that I was talking with Brandon about the other day, cause Brandon obviously is a high level entrepreneur. Yeah. And, we were talking about like time with our kids and time in the business and like, what does that look like? And one of the things that I've noticed, cause in the Better Life podcast, one of the things that we ask everybody is like, we have them just tell us about your parents and like what you love about them and stuff. And one thing I've noticed that's been surprising is that most of them come from parents that worked 70, 80, 90 hours a week. And they talk about not loving the fact that they work so much, but then they also really quickly, like the only reason I've been able to get to where I'm at is because I saw their work ethic. Sure. But I saw a lot of times it's like, I saw it in a dumb way where it was like, they were working for somebody else or they were working really hard to make $60,000 a year. Yeah. But I do sometimes think that where, like there is a fine line of showing your kids the value of hard work. 100%. And so like we've hired a house cleaner, nice. And I think I've talked about that. And, sometimes helpful. I'm embarrassed by that in the sense that like, I want to see my kids I want my kids to see me doing the dishes.
Oh, because they don't get to see you do a lot of work, I guess.
They don't. I mean, they know like daddy's working. And I know that me working on real estate versus doing the dishes, like that 30-minute trade-off, I'm making $1,000 an hour here and I can pay somebody $20 an hour to do the dishes. Yeah. And so for me, it makes sense, but I also don't want them to,
how do they get
how do they get like with cutting the grass or with, stuff like that. I'm always, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but I'm always like, I want my kids to like see the value of hard work. And right now, maybe when they get older, they'll understand the value of like working smarter and not harder. But I feel
like that's storytelling though, because you can tell stories about how life used to be and like the stories that got you to where you're at. Like one of the best things I ever heard from somebody in a mastermind I'm a part of is like good fathers in a home. One of the best things they can cultivate is storytelling. And it's like telling fables and like Jesus was told parables and it's like storytelling gives your kids and their children a grasp on value systems and principles that matter. And you can talk about when you used to cut the lawns 6 hours, like 6 hours a week, or you can talk about when you used to do all the different things that you had to do to get to where you're at.
Yeah.
And that you spent extra time learning these different things. And it's like those stories can piece together. Oh, I can have this life, but I also have to learn. It's like that principle of being faithful in the little.
Yeah.
And then you'll be trusted with much. It's kind of like, okay, you were faithful in the little. Now you're trusted with much. How can we give them that map and understanding of how they can get there?
Yeah.
But it's a difficult thing, because I was even hearing Patrick Bet-David talk about this, where he was like, my biggest thing I care about in my family right now is how do I have all this wealth and give it to my children without spoiling them?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm trying to figure that out as dad.
Yeah, because he's
freaking wealthy.
He might be a billionaire.
He's
with his
close.
Media company, right?
He's pretty close to a Billy, I think.
Yeah, that's really, really hard. I know for us, like we set up a trust and we are nowhere near $1 billion. But like, I mean, if we were to die right now, every kid would get multiple millions. And like that would come into play in their 30s at some point there are some, like we have the trustee or executor or whatever, and they actually get to make the decision if they can handle it, which would also suck, where it's like, I know that there's X amount of money sitting in a trust for me, and this executor's not like dispersing it to me. And so
I wonder if some of that is like our relationship with God, though, too. Not to get all spiritual.
Yeah.
Like some of you guys are like freaking Spencer, doing all Christian stuff out there. Okay, take this how you want, like whatever your beliefs are. But for me, I'm like, I think about that and I'm like, I wonder if sometimes he has all these gifts waiting for us as a good dad, but he's like waiting for us to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Like if my 2-year-old screamed and cried and moaned and asked for a grenade or a box of grenades, I'm not going to give him grenades. You know? And it's like, sometimes we're like, God, I just want this. I want this. I want that. I want this. And he's like, I can't give you a box of grenades. Yeah. You'll blow yourself up. Like,
no, that's it. That's a good point. I like that. It is. Yeah. Right? So that's how we've set it up, but that's if we die. Yeah. Hopefully we don't die.
That's cool.
But still want to figure out like a really
how to take care of them.
Yeah. Well, take care of them. And like let them pursue their passions and their dreams. Yeah. But then on top of that, also make it to where, they still have to work. Actually, so I was talking to a guy, he ran his family office. And so backstory on him, through real estate, his grandparents made hundreds and hundreds of millions. They owned like half of like Silicon Valley and not half of it, but they owned a lot of land there and sold it all off. And now they're investing in farm and solar and just hundreds of millions of dollars. Dang. And the way that they've set up their family office, and the grandparents wanted it this way, is every single person in the family gets, and I don't know how it's set. I would love to actually talk to him more about it. Gets enough, like he says, like $33,000 or $34,000 a year. And the reason for that was they have somebody that like will look at what is the bare minimum that you need to like get by. So like cool. They want to help pay for like what pays for your groceries and for like the cheapest apartment and cheapest, electricity. Like what is the bare minimum that you need to get by? Because
you will never be homeless.
Exactly.
And you'll never be hungry.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. We want you, but we don't want to give you anything more than that.
We want you to be hungry, not starving. We want you to be full, but not satisfied.
Yeah. I love that. And I thought about that, like something with our kids where it's like, hey, I'm going to help you. Cause I feel like that immediately that's a head start where you're like, hey, I have enough to get by. And so now if I want to go pursue my dreams or my passions or start a business and become an entrepreneur, I don't have to worry because I can still live in this really crappy apartment and I can still go get food from, Aldi, which is a really cheap restaurant on the main, or not restaurant, really cheap grocery store on the main.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So
totally, I remember that.
I go get food from Aldi. I can live in a cheap apartment, but I have enough to where I can go pursue like a dream or a passion or a new business. Or like, I'm just going to go get a 9 to 5 and I'm just going to have an extra $30,000 of income. But I really actually love that thought behind that, where it like with our kids at some point where it's like, hey, you will never be homeless. You will never need food. Well, you have to spend the money wisely, but you will never, like, you have enough off of X amount of money that you're getting, but you will never be rich. You'll have to go make that happen for yourself.
I wonder, like, I get scared when I think about, like, what if my children, like one of my children, you know, God forbid. And I doubt this would happen with like the way we parent and everything, but I'm sure a lot of parents have thought this before. What if, say your kid comes into drug addiction or something like that, you know, and they have that 30,000 a year and they blow it and they end up on the streets. It's like, what do you do in a scenario like that where like they're asking for more? Like, that's a tough one. I've thought through scenarios like that. I'm like, I don't know what I would do in that situation.
Yeah. I don't know either. That's a tough. I mean, I know, like, I would exhaust every single resource that I had to help.
Yeah.
But it in the right way versus giving them money or enabling. 100%. And I also know that that's so much easier right now when I've got a 6, 4, and 3-year-old and I don't have a kid that's addicted to drugs that's older to say for me, because at some point, like, just your love for your kid takes over and you're helping. To you, it's helping, but it could be enabling. But you know,
those are tough ones.
Yeah. So it's easy for me to say don't enable, but I mean, if one of my kids did, I would, I'm such a soft, like I would probably enable. And I mean, that sounds terrible.
You err more on that side than the opposite.
Yeah. And I've heard like stories of that, which I know I've heard stories of that where it's like the best thing that my parents did was cut me off and they wouldn't talk to me and they wouldn't give me money and they wouldn't, and that's, but I also, I don't know if I could ever have maybe the courage or the bravery to do that, where it's like, no, I want to. So let's pray that just never happens.
I know. And honestly too, you create a very loving environment. You're intentional. You're face to face with your kids. They get connection from you. I think it would be rare for an opportunity like that to present itself in those circumstances, but it's not impossible. And I think at that point though, you know, you have coaches and mentors in a lot of different areas in your life. I do too. That would be something I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to seek counsel from people that would crush it in this area. That
would be the first thing is like, I would spend I would go find the best counselor, not for my child, but for me of like, how do I handle this situation
100%.
And spend as much money as I could on me while helping, but to figure out that how to handle that. Because it could happen. I know so many great families and great parents that it happens.
Really shitty circumstances.
A lot of times it's something really sad where it's like something happened to the kid at school and the parents didn't do anything. They were incredible parents the entire time, but
you can't protect them from everything.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't like to think about that.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, that got deep real fast.
So real estate.
So
what
real estate stuff. Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
Well, okay. Here's what I had on the docket for today, because I hope you guys enjoyed any of that. If you didn't, then
exactly. Sorry.
So I wanted to kind of talk through, because again, I'm a real estate idiot. I am hopefully paying down my ignorance a little bit, ignorance tax a little bit, as Alex Ramosi says, on real estate. But I kind of wanted to know about, like, you're in flipping, wholesaling, wholetailing, and buying and holding when it makes sense, but you're putting a little bit more money into the properties that you do hold and cash flow so they can cash flow, because the numbers have to make sense.
Yes.
But you used to do more buy and hold before. But there are so many ways to make money in real estate. Yeah. Like multifamily, syndication, Airbnb. Yeah. Like, I kind of wanted to just hear, like, what are all the ways, like, if you were to like, just kind of give me a list first, like, what are all the ways that there are that you know of to like make money in real estate? And then I kind of want to just hear some of like the top ways people do it and why you haven't chosen those directions, like why you chose the way you did. Yeah. And so this isn't an exhaustive list, because if I sat down and actually, if I sat down and wrote it all, there'd be so much more. But
like they do. So there's a list for ways to make money in real estate, but then there's also ways to fund it. Like to me, a syndication isn't a way to make money in real estate, but it's a way to fund real estate. Or you could invest in a syndication, which somebody else is buying the real estate and you're just getting a return. So I mean, but we can talk about all of that. But I would say like in the single family realm, you make money from flipping, you make money from wholesaling, you make money from wholetailing, you make money from rental properties, you make money from Airbnbs, you make money from short-term rentals, which is an Airbnb, sorry. You make money from,
but there's different,
from rent by the room. You make money from midterm rentals. You make money from.
There's also there's a company that's now basically filling all of the rooms for you. Have you heard about this? Where like you basically work with them and they have a website where they will take, say you have like a 7-room house or an 8-room house, and they'll basically manage each room for you. Yeah. And you can do like long-term rent through each room.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's becoming a really big thing. And you have to be
interest rates.
Yeah. You have to be pretty technical with that because a lot of municipalities won't allow that. And the way that you get around it, because there's certain occupancy requirements and whatnot. But the way that you get around it and what these companies will do is they actually rent the house, and the way that they rent it is like through almost a fraternity type, like, and then the people pay in a membership fee to that company. And so they're members of it. And so, so it skirts around the occupancy rules for the it's fascinating. And I think
we are Sigma Nu.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's actually a really fascinating way to up cash flow is through rent by the room. Because what a lot of people do is they'll buy a 6 or 7 bedroom house, and they'll do a garage conversion to add extra bedrooms. They'll convert the dining room into a bedroom. And then they'll have
a mini hotel. It's like a mini boutique hotel.
And everybody has the room, and it also helps solve like the affordable housing problem for a lot of people, where it's like, I think where it works best is in areas like Maui probably, or areas where to rent a 1-bedroom apartment is astronomical, like Maui, Denver, Austin,
here, Charlotte. Start at $2,500 or something,
at least for a 1-bedroom, like where it's like, well, or you could rent a room for $900 to $1,000 a month, so same with like, one of the guys that I was talking to, he does it in Charlotte, North Carolina, where like the average, 1-bedroom rental is going to be $1,800 a month, maybe. I don't remember exactly what it was, but
it's pretty expensive in Charlotte.
Yeah, he rents rooms for like $700 to $900 a month, and so he can buy a 5-bedroom house, convert it into a 7 or 8-bedroom house, rent all of those for $900 a door. Let's say 9 times 8, 7,200. So he's gonna make $7,200 a month in rental income off of that. Yeah, so
that's a pretty good deal, right?
I think it's a fascinating idea. I do think the fact that, like you were saying, the companies, I would much rather manage it that way, where
so you're not having to deal with a bunch of people.
Because really what I see is like, hey, you have one house, but you have 8 leases on that house and 8 different personalities, and you have to have house rules, like who's cutting the grass, who's taking out the trash, who's doing where does people's food at, how do you label your food. So someone wants
to bring their girlfriend over, and like there's a party that somebody wants to throw, what are you doing?
Exactly. So I think there's a lot of headache with that.
Sure.
You can cash flow more. But I mean, for him, he says that his average cash flow per house is over $1,000 a door. Mine's $200. So like you make a lot, like, with our 60 something houses, if we converted them all, I mean, ours would be hard to set up for that, but we could be at, $600,000 a year or $700,000 a year in cash flow. If we did that,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think it's specific houses too,
so
where
what you just hit on though, you have 65 doors.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
65 doors that are like in your portfolio, your hold.
Yeah.
And you're cash flowing. How much would you say from those?
I would say like a little over over 200,000, but then when you actually Like that's what we'll make. But then
You're paying down loans too.
That's after paying down loans. That's after paying any maintenance or anything. But we also want to set money. Like if you looked at the way that I run cash flow numbers, we're probably at about $140,000 a year.
Okay.
Now, like last year, it was over 200, but that was because we just didn't have a ton of maintenance expenses. But we still took that and put that into different accounts, because at some point, like our portfolio is pretty healthy and it's pretty new. Like all of the houses, we've only been doing this for 4 years, and we typically update every rental when we buy them. So there's less maintenance that's needed.
I feel like what you're highlighting though, to me, is how hard it is to make income on just buy and hold. Like it's not, you have 65 doors and 140 to 200 grand a year in cash flow is not like life-changing income.
No,
and I don't
for
know a lot of
sure.
people even
It's
have
not
close to 60 doors.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I mean, the power for us in rental properties is those doors are all anywhere from 200 to, I think our most expensive rental is like 400,000.
Okay.
And so what that has allowed us to do is, and because we're buying them deep at a discount and they're appreciating, that's allowed us to, we have $15 million in rentals that we only owe $7 to $7.5 million on.
Yeah.
So the equity
allows you to get more deals?
No, not really, but it allows me to sleep at night. Knowing like, hey, I
can sell any one of these or all of them.
I can sell all of them and have a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah.
So but the cash flow is not there, which is one of the reasons we got into flipping, where it's like, if I want to make a lot of money, even though in rentals I'm making a lot of money, but it's on paper, it's not ever coming into my bank because it's the equity in the houses. If I want to make a lot of money today, I have to have another vehicle for bringing in income.
Yeah.
And so flipping is that for us.
Yeah.
So but rent by the room, I mean, we're still in single family with those. Like, another great way with single family is, I think, sober living. To me is very similar to rent by the room.
That's a passion project too for a lot of people.
Oh, dude, I think
I don't even care if I make that much money. Like, this is what I care about.
They do make. I think they're lying.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a really and I should not say that. A lot of people have really great hearts, but I mean, sober living also cash flows really well.
Okay.
Because
it's kind of that fraternity idea.
Yeah, it's exactly what it's rent by the room. You're renting it to. Actually, that's exactly how one of the bigger organizations does it. Is it's member based, and so the sober living house will rent it, and then people become members, and then they get to live at the house, and they're going to pay more for rent in those, and then that company will manage the people in the house and make sure that everything is taken care of. Okay. And so I think sober living is a really great opportunity in single family housing if you wanted to buy houses and hold them to get cash flow. Because I think just the long-term rental right now is dead. It's the easiest. It's for sure the easiest for single family houses is just getting a long-term rental, putting somebody in there for a long time. But
right. So you're like, no headache. Let me get a 2-4 year rental.
Yeah. And for us, we don't need the cash flow right now. Right. So I would rather just do long-term rentals. That's all we do. We have a couple of Airbnbs, and really the reason we have those is so when we go back to St. Louis, we have somewhere to stay. But sober living is a way to cash flow, on single family. I think some other really great opportunities within the single family realm is luxury, like senior living. So not assisted living, but and I've never done any of these but long-term rentals and short-term rentals. So a lot of what I'm saying is just regurgitated out of people that I've talked to and listened to at conferences. And honestly, people lie.
Why have you never gotten into this stuff? Like what?
Because I just don't. I mean, I think it goes back to
and flips for you.
I mean, yes, but it also goes back to the one thing where we know how to do long-term rentals, and we have had really great success with that. We've got millions and millions of dollars in equity on our single-family portfolio, and that's just what I'm sticking to. And I don't think I think it's the safest as well. I think Airbnbs. I've got so many friends that, because Airbnb got super sexy. I think that's one of the it goes back to stocks. I mean, I think real estate's way better than stocks, but everybody's trying to guess who's the next Tesla or the Nvidia, whatever they are, that's shot up, or Bitcoin. What's the new coin that's going to be great? Where it's like the blue chip stocks are over the course of time is probably going to be your best bet. Like just even with cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin is still incredibly volatile, but it's going to do better than Dogecoin. Probably. Yeah. And so that's what long-term rentals is. Long-term rentals, it's safe, it's tried, it's true. I think that if you bought Airbnbs in 2017 and we're doing it, you're crushing it right now. I have so many people that I know personally that Airbnbs got really, really hot and really, really sexy. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to start doing it. And they bought in 2022 and 2023. And now people are getting destroyed with Airbnbs. I've got friends that have bought houses in Joshua Tree and Palm Springs and down in Florida that they're creating all of these rules and regulations around it. And they're not able to Airbnb out their places anymore. And they're underwater because the market's also dropped there. So their houses aren't worth what they were. And so like, I think that the air, it's just not safe. You can make more money, but you have to work harder too, because you're managing somebody coming in it's a hotel. Every couple of days. Same with rent by the room. You're managing multiple different people and different personalities. Same with sober living. Sober living might be a little bit easier, but even then the houses that you're buying, you're having to create into a sober living home where you're probably, walling up a dining room is an extra bedroom, and you're converting the garage to get more people in the house because that creates more income. But then, like, I was talking to a guy the other day, he's got 90 sober living homes. And one of the questions that I asked him was like, okay, so you've rehabbed all of these houses to be sober living homes and what happens if that organization that you're renting to goes underwater tomorrow? Now you have 90 empty homes across the United States that are designed for sober living homes. Yeah. What do you do? And I think that's really scary.
Would he be able to buy that sober living home company?
That's what he said is he's like, we would probably create our own sober living company.
That's what I figured.
And then you're creating another company.
But now you're having to learn an entirely new company. Yeah. And you're gonna have to go through, there's probably a lot that goes into senior living stuff, like different, companies that you have to get certified with and hire different types of people. Now you're recruiting and hiring, and it's just, that's probably a lot.
Yeah. So again, I go back to like the long-term rental is the safest. But it's also the least sexy. Not that sober living sexy, but like
on a balance sheet or on a P&L.
Exactly. And Airbnbs are in cool areas like that. That's a really cool thing to have. And I get jealous of people like, here's our Airbnb and, wherever on a mountaintop in the Rocky Mountains. And like, I wish I did that. I want that. But I also know that a lot of times they don't make money. And so I love long-term rentals. And that's why we've kind of stuck to it.
What about multifamily syndication? Because you've been doing this long enough that you could easily get into multifamily. One of the things Brandon said was, I realized like it's just the same thing but bigger. So I guess one of the things I've heard him say, and I know that there's like nuances to that statement, but I wondered that for you. I'm like, why did you never get into multifamily or any of those things?
We're good at single family. Like I know what we're looking for, and I know how to buy those properties, and I know how to manage the rehab on those properties, and I know how to, if we're keeping it as a rental, how to rent those properties.
But you didn't know that in the beginning, and you figured it out.
Yeah, right? I could do it with multifamily. Okay. I just I feel like I would rather scale up in single families versus trying to create a whole new business. Okay. I also think that single families, those are tougher to flip, in the sense of you're not going to do a flip like you would with a single family, but you're going to come in and you're going to rehab the units as people move out, and you're going to raise rents, which is going to raise the NOI on the place. And then you're going to be able to sell it off of a, cap rate, whatever.
What's
on that
NOI?
Net operating income.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're going to be able so you can flip them, but it's more of like a 2 or 3 year flip. The funding's a little bit trickier. The price point's a little bit higher. And so, I think multifamily is great.
Yeah.
But also every multifamily person I know right now is not sleeping well.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Interest rates right now, a lot of bridge debts coming due, especially in the.
Are they not fixed rates? I guess I'm
I've never done multifamily. So, but in the syndication realm, no, most people did not get fixed rates.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but I don't want to speak on it because I just don't know that. I don't know that much about it.
You only know what you've heard from
So there could be fixed rates. There could be a 30-year product for multifamily. I would guess there is.
Yeah.
I would think that there is, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I think that there is, but
do you think that your trajectory of how you would have done real estate would have been different if you had a mentor 4 or 5 years ago that was like, I'm crushing it in multifamily, let me help you do that? Or no? Did you always know?
I didn't always know. I think that, but I would say no. I would say I would not be where I'm at right now if I did any other asset class, but single family.
Well, it's like most of our population's looking for that.
Well, that's what I love about single family is it's never going to go out of style. You're selling single families. If no matter what happens in the market, you're able to turn around and sell those houses.
Yeah.
Because people need houses. People need places to live, which a multifamily is a place for them to live, but
not appealing.
Well, not appealing, but also if the market crashes, typically with a multifamily, you're only selling from LLC to LLC or even hedge fund to hedge fund. So your only buyers are other
private equity.
Private equity. I mean, a smaller multifamily, it would be, but it'd still be somebody that's an operator. Probably it's not, nobody's buying a multifamily to live in generally, unless it's a 3 unit and they're house hacking it or something. So your pool of buyers goes down dramatically the bigger you get.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's more, it's not as recession proof.
Yeah.
Where in the single family space, it's incredibly recession proof as well. Where, we got destroyed in 2008 and 2009, but there's always going to be buyers and you can hold on to it for a while. And so, I love the single family space. Yeah. I love it. And then I think it also works really well with our business model because we're out hunting down deals every single day to flip, to make a lot of money from flipping. And then if we want to keep it as a rental, we've already got this really great deal. And so we can just take it into our rental portfolio. If we wanted to go into multifamily, but still make the income that we're making, we basically have to do 2 different businesses where, hey, we've got this arm that's marketing to single families and we're rehabbing the houses and we're listing them retail. And then we have another arm where we're having to hire new acquisition managers, changing our marketing strategy. That's out
the things you're looking for is different.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that I don't really want to get into the multifamily space. I want to stay single family. Yeah. I love the single family space.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting. Like the syndication thing. Can I just ask why that's not doing great? Because I talked to a wealth manager the other day when we were staying at the Four Seasons. And Lanai, there's a guy that's manages wealth for he has a billionaire client. I know we're coming up on time too. Yeah. But I'll just ask this quickly. He has a billionaire client. He's got another guy that's profit. He's taking home 18 million a year as his income. He's got some heavy hitter clients. And then he was talking about how he's my some of the people that I know that that have funds not doing well. He's multiple quarters, they're not paying out distributions to their investors. And he's that's making a lot of people not happy. And so they don't want to reinvest. Yeah. So it's really hard to get investors when they're not going to be getting distributions for a period of time.
Yeah, I think, so the reason that that's happened is because interest rates have went up, bridge loans are coming due, banks are getting a little bit, they're circling the wagons a little bit. They're not dispersing funds.
Yeah.
Like a bank can literally hold on to your funds. Because you raise an X amount, part of it's for the purchase price, part of it's for the rehab of the property, and banks aren't giving them the funds to rehab the property. So then you got to go do another capital call to get the rehab funds to be able to rehab the property. The reason the banks aren't giving them the money is because they see some sort of risk with that property. So they want some sort of protection against that. And so, and I'm not a syndicator, so I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I do know that that a lot of I follow the market closely, and I know a lot of people that are, and one of the reasons that you're seeing distributions halted is just because prices have gone up across the board while rents have stayed stable or even gone down.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So rents have
usually just like kind of take a while.
Yeah. So like interest rates have obviously gone up, but also the price of insurance has gone up like a ridiculous amount. The price of labor and materials, if you're buying something and you're rehabbing it over time, has gone up dramatically. The price of property management has gone up. And so their costs have gone up, rents haven't gone up. They have worked into their pitch deck, here's what we think we're going to return to you. And they're not able to do that. And so they won't give distributions anymore, or they'll halt them for a while to build up some reserves and whatnot. And so, I think that one of the problems with the syndication model is it just depends on who you're raising money from. That's the reason that typically you have to be an accredited investor, and an accredited investor, you have to have I think $1 million net worth or something like that, and make.
So you weren't hurt as bad if it doesn't.
Well, and I think one of the reasons that they do that is because you would be labeled by the government as a sophisticated investor. I think I don't do syndications. I know enough to get by. So, but that would mean like, oh, they can make decisions for themselves. The problem with that is still like, you can be a millionaire and you worked a job making $90,000 a year for the last 30 years and you're a millionaire, Yeah. And so what a lot of times, or what I'm seeing a lot is like those people, they don't really have a pulse on the market. They give, 25% of their liquid cash to this fund or just this syndication because they've heard that, I get 12% return on my money. Plus when they sell, I get some money back, and it's going to be a, 18 to 22% IRR. That sounds great. And then distributions are
fine print.
Yeah. Distributions are halted. And so they have $200,000, tied up into this syndication, and they're not getting any return on that. And they freak out. Like for me, if I gave, I have invested in syndications, and if I invest in that and distributions are halted, I'm in real estate. I can look at the market and I'm like, okay, that's a smart move and a wise move to make, to continue on with this property and make it profitable in year 5, 6, 7, whenever we go to exit it.
Yeah.
And so I would understand that, but a lot of people don't. So then they get upset about it and they get on Instagram or Twitter or send emails.
These guys are horrible.
Yes. And I don't I think with most syndicators, it's not that. It's just the market's turned, and that's just a part of.
We're protecting the overall investment.
Yeah. And there's nothing that syndicators could have done about it. They didn't know that the market was going to turn so quickly. So, so quickly in the last couple of years. And so I don't think they're worth we're going to scam all these investors. No. Some investors feel like that. I understand it. And it's the risk with anything. That's the risk in the stock market. That's the risk in investing in anybody's business, your friend's restaurant startup. There's a chance that the market turns, and
just like an employee, there's a chance you get fired. The company goes under.
And I think that still syndication is one of the best things to invest in because you still have a tangible asset. You're not investing in a business that could go bankrupt and you lose everything. At the end of the day, no matter what, it's going to sell.
That building is going to either rent or sell.
Yes. Yeah. Unless the syndicator goes bankrupt and something like that, that could be. But I still think that it still is a great investment. You just might see a 3% return for the next 5 years, and then you go to exit it and you get another 10 or 11%, and it still turns into overall a 13 or 14% return.
Great.
Yeah. So I don't think that it's a terrible thing to invest in. Now, I will say this though, with syndicators, and this is where it gets a little shady, is the way that a lot of syndicators like make their money is they have an asset management fee. They have an acquisitions fee. They don't, sometimes they don't even really care about the building and what the equity of the building or anything like they want to go buy $100 million property so they can make their 2% acquisition fee and their 2% asset management fee, which is $4 million.
Sketchy.
Yeah. And so they're going to manipulate the pitch deck to, and act like it's a good deal when even they might know in the back of their head, this isn't a great deal for the investors.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it does get shady. I think there are some bad.
Well, it's kind of what happened with Jordan Belfort with like selling stocks, like penny stocks and everything, is like they got a fee. He's like, oh, how much do I make for penny stocks? They're like, this much. He's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
So then he was like, sold 5,000 of those. He's like, why not? My commission's so much better.
Yeah.
Even though people are getting screwed over in the process.
Yeah. And so there are syndicators like that. And so you have to vet, I think you have to vet who is actually running the operation too.
Yeah.
And
that
like,
makes sense.
is this person a good, trustworthy, honorable person? One of the things like with Brandon, he's one of my good friends, but that I love is that he doesn't take a salary. Because of that exact thing is he does
That's
not.
Cool.
Yeah. He's like, I will not win if my investors don't win.
Yeah.
And so, so for him, so like
he's not incentivized to screw people over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most of them are. Most people are incentivized to screw people over, where it's like, I don't care if this deal does well, because I'm still making my $4 million for finding this building and buying it. And so there's some people right now on Instagram and Twitter that are like, one guy that I follow, that's his whole thing, is he's outing really bad operators. And this guy's got like 7 or 8 deals that are going bad, and he just bought a private plane, and so, but again,
you showed me that guy.
Did I?
I think you showed me that guy. He kind of did the funny thing when Pace had a video that came out or something.
Oh no, I don't think so.
Was that not the guy? When Pace kicked somebody out for like he evicted a client that was like, evicted one of his tenants. Remember you showed me the guy was like, check this guy out.
Oh, I don't know
that different guy.
Yeah,
probably.
different. Oh, are you talking about the guy that that's not him. Yeah,
okay.
That's not him. But different guy. But yeah, so I think you can like that sucks. And that's why, like, even in like our business, when we borrow money from a private investor, the private investor's money is always paid out before we make any money. Yeah. And I think that helps protect a lot of stuff. And I know in this
future investments for you.
Yeah. And in the syndication realm, you have to have employees because it's a completely different model. And you have to have underwriters, and you have to have analysts, and you have to have investor relations. And so you have to pay them. So you have to take some sort of asset management or acquisitions fee.
Right.
But overhead. Yeah. Cause you do have that. But I think that there's a lot of people out there that are like, hey, I can still make a lot of money and not really care about my investors. And the thing with those guys is they only get one shot at it. So they won't be in business much longer, but for some of them,
reputation shot.
Yeah. For some of them, it's like, well, I made $10 million. So, I'll go do something else, or I'll go, lurk for the next 10 years and then come back. And, so I think the real ones are going to be the ones. Yeah.
It's like Gollum.
Yeah, exactly. Just the real ones are going to be the ones that make it through this, honor their investors, treat their investors right. And then continue. Cause there's going to be a great time to buy. And in the multifamily, the large multifamily, or like mid-sized to large multifamily.
Interesting.
Route in the next 10 years.
Yeah, dude.
Probably next 5 years. Honestly, probably next.
You think 5 years?
I mean, I just think that
interest rates will change.
There's going to be a lot of people that go under.
Okay, and so a lot of inventory.
Yeah, there'll be inventory for sure. There'll be fire sales.
Single family inventory.
I haven't seen a single family market changing much. It's been really stable. I don't think you're going to see the 10, 15, 20% appreciation that we've seen year over year for the last 3 or 4 years. But I mean, there's still such a lack of housing and a shortage of housing. Like right now, nationally, I think the month supply, like we're at 3.2 months of inventory, and a stable market, I think, is around 6. And so, we just don't have the inventory to keep up. And so we're going to see housing prices continue to, I think, slowly creep up until we have more inventory. And there's a point where we will be like, what would it be? Just stable. Like there, but
it doesn't change much.
Yeah. But I don't think that's for a while. I think we're still going to creep up in price, but just maybe 3 to 5% a year. And if interest rates come back down to 3.5%, which I don't think that'll happen, but if they do, man, I think you're going to see
huge spikes.
Yeah, an insane spikes.
There are so many people waiting to buy.
That's why. And it will create more inventory, but it also will create so much competition because so many people are waiting to buy.
I mean, I remember back when it was like six offers on a house that are like 50 to 100,000 above asking price, all here, like $200,000 above asking price. Cash offers, like you're like, geez, how many friggin' offers are on this house here?
In St. Louis, there was times where we'd get 15, 20 offers on a house. Jeez. Yeah. And still get, I think our highest was, I don't know if we ever got 100 over asking, but we definitely got 60 over asking.
Well, I mean, it makes sense with the price of houses,
but
also you got to get going, bro. Like get going. Get your daughter going to gymnastics and stuff.
Yes.
Let me just say this real quick. Cause I have to, not because I'm the smart guy that does any of the real estate advice stuff for our business, but, if you guys want to excel in flipping, wholesaling business and increase your deal flow a lot, Cameron's the guy to help you. Honestly, shameless plug. I'm allowed to say it. You're not allowed to. No. Honestly, we built Deal Flow as a company to help investors really crush it in the current market. Cameron is crushing it. And like you've heard his stats and numbers. He doesn't need to say it about himself, but it's just true. And I'm learning a lot through the podcast, asking you a lot of questions. But what we're seeing with investors that we're helping is really cool.
Dude, they're crushing it.
They are crushing it. You have to do the work to see results. But if you do the work, you will see results. If you want to learn about that, click the link in the description. Go to dealflowrealestate.com if you don't find the link and learn more about that.
Love it. Awesome. And go watch About Time and Good Will Hunting.
Yes.
If you haven't.
Fair enough. And all the action flicks.
Awesome. Yes.
See you guys later.
See ya.